Hi everyone, and welcome back to Deck Tech. This week I am finally boarding the hype train, albeit a little bit late, and taking the Fusion Strike archetype for a spin. But I'm not about to drop some fat stacks to get a Mew VMAX line going, so we're going to take Genesect V Turbo for a spin instead. Starting with the ugly bug itself, Genesect V is our main attacker, our draw engine, and really it's the only reason that Fusion Strike has been as successful as it is. Its Fusion Strike system allows you to draw until you have as many cards in your hand as you have Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, and there is no hard once per turn on that. Shaman EX says hi. This ability basically lets us turbo through the deck like crazy, hitting some big combo pieces and hopefully setting up a board that can quickly overwhelm VMAXs and tag teams alike. And thanks to a respectable 210 damage attack in Technoblast, we can make pretty short work of most 2-prizers as well. Meloetta, on the other hand, provides a powerful secondary attacker and a 1-prizer at that. Its Melodious Echo attack does 70 damage for every Fusion Strike energy in play, and thanks to Alice's Sparkle, getting 3 into play in one turn is hardly an issue. And of course we run Oricorio for the additional Fusion Strike bench sitter, but it also helps to debuff damage dealt against our Pokemon, which can be relevant with Genesect's low 190 HP for a 2-prizer anyway. On the supporter side, the lineup is, I would say, quite unconventional. You don't really need draw supporters, generally speaking, in a Fusion Strike deck because of how good Genesect is, so the idea here instead is to toolbox out specific solutions to the expanded meta instead. Faba, for example, provides a great layer of protection against ability lock, easily lost zoning floatstones, silent labs, and even the odd path to the peak that you might see pop up and expanded every now and then. Pokemon Ranger, of course, prevents us from getting absolutely bodied by ADP, and Karen provides an easy answer to Mad Party, Wormadam, or anything else that likes to discard its Pokemon. It also serves as a rescue stretcher in a pinch, recovering Fusion Strike Pokemon to help us draw a few more cards later on. Oh, and Guzma, of course, provides us Gusting while helping to get around Technoblast's cooldown effect. There is also a one-off N here to provide some desperation draw if you really need it, or to punish the opponent in the late game. And it is particularly nasty here because you can actually play the N even when you're down to just a couple of prizes yourself, because Genesect is just going to refill your hand anyway, as long as you still have a few in play. And a few VS Seekers alongside a single battle compressor ensure that we can in fact toolbox those supporters as needed, or get them out of the way so that we can draw into some more useful cards instead. VIP Battle Pass provides some aggressive Pokemon search in the first turn of the game, though it can become a little bit of a brick later on. But we do offset the brickiness of VIP Battle Pass with a pretty aggressive 4-4 split of Quick Ball and Ultra Ball. This pretty much ensures that we can swarm the field fairly easily with all of our Fusion Strike Pokemon, and these cards do help us cut down the hand so that we can draw a bit more aggressively with Genesect as well. Chaotic Swell and Field Blower provide even more protection against ability lock, specifically Garbotoxin, dealing handily enough with the Ultra Necrozma decks that do plague the mid to higher rungs of the expanded ladder. Power Tablet offers a nice 30 damage buff for each one used, which can let Genesect body tag teams with just 1, maybe 2 uses at most, or it can give Meloetta some disgusting reach against even some of the bigger VMAXs, assuming of course that you can also hit your Alice's Sparkles along the way. Special Charge at 2 keeps a healthy supply of Fusion Strike energy in play, which means that Meloetta can, for the most part, remain a constant threat throughout the game. And Metal Saucer is here to take advantage of the discard synergy in this deck, and when paired with Alice's Sparkle, it can make powering up a Genesect to attack a pretty simple affair. Switch and Escape Rope provide some burnable pivoting options and can also be used to apply a bit of pressure early on as well. And of course we have a nice energy count with 6 basic metals and 4 Fusion Strike energies. The latter are particularly nice and expanded because attaching Fusion Strike energy to Genesect actually lets it draw under the effect of Garbotoxin, which again is the thing that we're most afraid of, I would say, more than any other deck out there. Now overall, this deck goes hard. In testing, I found that it really challenged me actually because of how fast it plays, and you know how you have to balance out all of the aggression and heavy draw with some serious resource management. And also, it doesn't happen too often, but you are prone to some very awkward starts because there are a number of cards in here that you can't really play on your first or even necessarily your second turn, and opening up a bunch of those alongside just one Genesect kind of feels bad. But anyway, with this disgusting engine revving and ready to go, we can shoot on over to the expanded ladder and find out if Fusion Strike best deck, or if I'm just way too late to the party. Okay, everyone, and here we go, heading into a match with a, I always gotta love the custom character designs. You gotta love when people flex a little bit there with their PTCGO avatar. And it's particularly refreshing after the Wax Nightmare was the PTCG Live character avatars. Honestly, I think I just finished making my avatar in PTCG Live. I tried to play one game, and then I went, nah, I'm not transferring my account over. I noped right out of there. But anyway, jumping into the game here, we've got some Fire Sleeves and a Talonflame in the start, so unless this is a big head fake with the Greninja, the only other thing it could be would actually be Leon Charizard. Now, oddly enough, my opponent actually decided to retreat the Talonflame and bring up the Charmander, which is a bit weird. Normally, you'd want to leave the Talonflame up there to at least take the hit, because obviously you're not taking the KO with a Talonflame. It's great for searching stuff out to get you your combo pieces to get into Charizard, but if you're not able you know, to necessarily establish multiple Charmanders, then switching out is a bit of a weird call. But you know, it's fine by me. I can try as best as I can here to basically set up my Meloetta, hopefully get an Alessa Sparkle off as well, which will allow me to take the KO on the Charmander. And that's the really big thing here. What I have to do is try and deny my opponent the Charizards for as long as I can, and use that basically to swing the prize race in my favor, because once my opponent gets a couple Charizards set up, especially if they tech in the Roaring Resolve one, which a lot of expanded Charizard lists do, well then at that point it's pretty easy for them to just start bossing up my Genesect Vs and blowing them up thanks to that handy fire weakness. So I'm really going for things here. I managed to get a pretty big board established, but sadly I do not see the Alessa Sparkle. So there's not too much I can do, and I actually don't want to leave Meloetta here in the active, simply because this one has my Fusion Strike energy on it, and I don't know if my opponent might evolve into a Charmeleon and maybe have a way to KO it. Losing a Fusion Strike energy that early on would be pretty lame, so I'm just going to throw up a different Meloetta again. I obviously don't want to throw up the Genesect because of the whole fire weakness thing, but at least this way, if a Charizard does come down, ideally, if they have to welder to it, then it's just taking out the Meloetta, which is a prize trade I am absolutely fine with. And then, of course, I can answer that Charizard as well with a Meloetta on my own, assuming the draws go a little better. And this is one of the cool things about expanded Leonzard. My opponent does have a battle compressor, so they can dump 3 Leons right off the bat, which means that, yeah, there is no issue with blowing up my Genesects or really anything else. You know, with Charizard's big attack there. Thankfully, they actually don't have the KO. They're just going to go for Talonflame's Arrow Blitz, probably to set themselves up with a rare candy and a boss, or a rare candy and a Charizard if they already have the boss in hand. Basically, they're going to set themselves up so that next turn they can evolve into Charizard, boss up one of my Genesects, and put the smackdown on me there. So I'm just going to quick ball away a Metal Energy so I can use the Metal Saucer and of course pare my hand down a little bit. Now I am going to spread my energy out here a little bit on the Genesects just so that one going down doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world, like just in case I have to attack in particular with a Genesect V. I don't want it to be the one that's totally loaded up with all the energy and then the others are kind of just sitting ducks. I may need to retreat them as well a little bit later on, so it seems like a prudent thing to do. And as we start going through our Fusion Strike systems, we're not drawn too much here, which is a little unfortunate. But finally, we do see the Alessa Sparkle there. Unfortunately, you know, I don't have an escape rope or anything to force up one of the Charmanders, which is less than ideal. But on the other hand, I am able to basically get all of my Meloetta set up now, which is fantastic. I'll just hit the Fusion Strike system there after quick balling away. No more valid targets in deck because we only play 9 Pokemon there. So we'll just toss that so it's not in the way. And yeah, there's no way now to force up a Charmander. So while it does suck to burn a Fusion Strike energy just to take out the Talonflame, you know, I got to take a KO eventually, and I do want to put the pressure on my opponent here. They certainly have the option of bossing up and KOing my Genesect, but that's just going to put us at even prizes here. And at the end of the day, as long as I'm not too foolish with my Power Tablets and my Fusion Energies, I might be able to just out-resource them if they're not able to consistently hit the rare candies. It was a little unfortunate to have to burn my N early on as well. I would have preferred, I think, to hold on to that just to, again, put my opponent in a bit of a rough spot. But, you know, they're not doing too bad either. They do have the Roaring Resolve Charizard, which these decks like to tech in every now and then, which means they will still get the attack off, and that is an easy KO on Meloetta. But they also have the Leon Charizard established to start cycling through their deck a little bit more. And they even establish a Togekiss V, which I assume will evolve into a VMAX, and they can use that basically as something that can take a hit and help them search out combo pieces like rare candy. So, you know, they go for the big KO, Roaring Resolve, fantastic attack, although it does actually put that Charizard in range of KO now, because I only need 2 Fusion Strike energy in play in order to one-shot that, thanks to the damage and the way the math is working out. So I'll just Metal Saucer onto my 3rd Genesect here. Again, just making sure that 1 doesn't represent the total destruction of all of my resources. I will Field Blower my own Chaotic Swell there just to get the card out of the hand, and again, still be able to deny my opponent like a Giant Hearth or anything like that. And just looking at the board here, there's not too much I need to do. I can actually just chill for a turn here, take the KO. If my opponent decides to blow up this Meloetta in the active, that's perfectly fine with me, because then that'll give me another use of Metal Saucer, and I'll still have 1 Fusion Strike energy in play with access to Special Charge and Alessa Sparkle as a follow-up, which isn't too bad. Now, my opponent is going to start recurring some resources, so they'll get back a Charmander, a Charizard, and a Fire Energy, which means that they probably have the Charmeleon on hand somewhere to evolve up into that. But it also means that, you know, my plan to maybe out their bench by just denying them like the constant Charmanders, or at least keeping the pressure up, that's maybe not going to work out so well. And off of the end, you know, I'm not in the greatest position, but I do have access to the VS Seeker now, which is really nice. They're just battle compressoring away more stuff, which again is okay with me. They'll battle Sense as well, probably digging, I guess, for a boss or something to that effect. And I think, see a Welder go off of that as well, which is good news for me. I also see that there's 2 Blacksmiths in the discard as well. So they might be down quite a bit of their energy acceleration. So we're going to try and reestablish our board here a little bit. I'm just going to recur those Fusion Strike energies with the Special Charge. I'll attach the metal onto my Meloetta there. And now just taking a quick look, I do unfortunately have you know, a couple of Meloetta in the discard pile, which is never great. So before I go and start using Fusion Strike system, I'm just going to use my own battle compressor to get some useless stuff out of the way. And now I can hopefully draw into Karen. Karen would be a great way here for me to get some of those Meloetta back into the deck. And then hopefully I could draw them with Fusion Strike system. But failing that, you know, I can just grab the Alessa Sparkle here. While it's not ideal to accelerate to the Genesects, again, it does actually put them in a decent enough position if I have to attack with 1, because now they're each just one attachment away from doing so. And hey, you know, with the 3 Fusion Strike energy in play, that is actually enough to pretty easily take out the Charizard. So now I'm down to 3 prizes. If my opponent wants to evolve up into the VMAX, they can do so. I don't have the one-shot on it anymore because I believe I've used too many Power Tablets. And obviously I don't really want to be putting Genesect up into the active to attack. But, you know, it also puts my opponent in a bit of a tough spot as well because they are still running relatively low on Charmanders. So they might have to commit to this VMAX line of play here. And also just seeing the Greedence there was a little odd. I like what my opponent is doing here. It gives you a secondary line to attack with. Just interesting stuff all around. And they do have the rare candy as well, which is less than ideal because it means that they do get another Charizard established there. And they have the Ultra Ball as well to set up the Togekiss. So I'm not feeling too good about that. They're going to hit the Battle Sense as well and get themselves another Charmander. So they are pretty well set up for next turn. If I could get access to a Guzma, for example, then I could switch in and take out the Charizard, but chances are my opponent probably has rare candy and then maybe a Blacksmith or something like that to get the next one going. So my Genesect would not be long for this world. Now, that being said, I do still have a way to win this game. Basically, my opponent can only take 2 prizes at most on the next turn here. And as long as I get a solid enough hit into the Togekiss, even if I'm down all of my Power Tablets, if I can just get 1 or 2 Fusion Strike energy in play and attack the Togekiss with Meloetta, then that would actually be enough for me to close out the game. So I'm actually going to burn a couple of those Power Tablets. I will get my Genesect set up with the Metal Saucer. And now just kind of looking at my resources here, I am down all my Meloetta, which is less than, again, ideal. So I'm going to try desperately to draw into the Karen, unless the Sparkle is not what I wanted to see there. So again, looking at my hand here, what can I do? I'll just burn the switch to get my hand down 1 more card, and then I'll go for the Fusion Strike system to just draw 1, and thank goodness my deck was thin enough that I did hit the Karen. So I'll just shoot all of my Fusion Strike Pokemon back in there, also load my opponent's deck up with a ton of Pokemon that they, for the most part, don't want to use anymore. Just hopefully to help slow them down on the draw as well, which is a really nice bonus of Karen in the late game there. And just looking at my options here, there's not too much else to do. I'm running pretty low on cards, but there's not quite enough for me to deck myself out, which is good. So I can just go for 1 more Fusion Strike system, just draw myself 2 cards, which ain't too bad. And hey ho, there is a Meloetta for next turn, which is absolutely fantastic. So if I'm smart, I will get that benched, just in anticipation of my poor Genesect going down. And again, just checking my discard pile quickly here, I'm looking pretty good for resources. There is an argument here for maybe using the special charge first, just so I can get the energy back in deck in the event that my opponent does have another N, but that might not be in their best interests either. And now, you know, the Togekiss is pretty heavily damaged, so unless my opponent is packing a surprise Max Potion, Acerola, a Scoop Up Cyclone, just another really crazy card for their Charizard deck here. Unless they got something really surprising like that, then I've pretty much got this thing on the ropes. But you know, hey, Free Retreat is great. They do get their Leon Charizard in. They'll go for the Battle Sense, probably just to clear out some of the Pokemon that I did put back in there, which, yes, they do. Thankfully, burning a Charizard as well. And then they just take the big KO with Royal Blaze there, which definitely puts me in a bit of an awkward spot. So now basically I need a Guzma. I know they're not going to send up the Togekiss off of the Escape Rope. So, you know, as long as I can get 1 more Fusion Strike energy and that Guzma there, that should be everything that I need to close the game out. So looking at my options here, my deck is pretty thin. I've got access to 3 Fusion Strike drives at the moment. So I will actually just burn the Escape Rope here, just in case. I'm going to put up something, hopefully, that my opponent doesn't want to attack with right away. And thankfully, you know, I do see the Guzma off of the next Genesect ability. So, hey, I can just hit them with a well played. I can actually finish the game out with Genesect, which is never a bad feeling against a fire deck. And yeah, we'll just go for the big Techno Blast, take the KO, and scoop up our final 3 prizes for game. And what a game it was. Okay, and that was both a very fun and extremely close match. You know, I always have to salute the absolute mad lads and ladies who run Charizard on the expanded ladder, and in particular, I thought that my opponent's take on this deck was, if nothing else, really novel, but low-key, it was kind of awesome. Togekiss VMAX was a very inspired inclusion, and I think it really complements the Talonflame and Battle Compressor engine that these decks tend to run when they pop up and expanded anyways. Just really fantastic, thought-provoking deck building, and something I kind of want to take for a spin myself. And you know, the proof was in the pudding. That was a really, really rough matchup for me. Obviously, the glaring fire weakness on Genesect didn't help things, but thankfully, you cannot Welder and Boss or Guzma in the same turn. And of course, while I didn't quite go full Meloetta Turbo with this deck, definitely having that core there as a solid plan B helped me to keep pace with my opponent and trade prizes efficiently enough. But still, they nearly had me there. So again, kudos to them for a really fantastic game and pushing this deck to the limits of what it could actually do. Now, after having tested a couple different versions of the list and obviously having a really fantastic game there, I am still willing to say that Genesect V is crazy broken. And, you know, the caveat is that I don't think that it's necessarily in need of an errata or a ban. It's not that bad, but certainly I'm grateful that its ability is limited to the Fusion Strike archetype. If it was as generic as Shaman EX was, for example, then that might be well, no, it would be a different story. But it is still a little too good in my opinion. I think the better design choice would have been to give it a hard once per turn and then just provide some other consistency options for Fusion Strike, or at least some alternative attackers or support Pokemon that could have done more interesting things, right? Instead of just burning through half your deck. I would hope we could at least agree on that. But anyway, I will wrap it up there before I keep rambling and get myself into some real trouble. Obviously, if you have some different feelings about the Genesect V engine, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I am happy to hash it out. But just in general, you know, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We will be back to the Battle Arena series once I can get through the editing nightmare that each episode is, so stay tuned for that. And I do have some more fun projects on the horizon as well. And hey, you know what I'm gonna say? I will catch you all in the next one, and until then, take it easy.